She's pointing the gun about to fire at someone.
Brooke, I'm telling you, this is not the way to handle this.
I'm fine. I'm fine. Look, I know this sounds like a horror story that I'm telling you. It's not. It happened. I'm not just overreacting, and it didn't just happen to me.
Okay. Then just lay out the facts for me.
The fact is that my daughter, Laura, is a beautiful, vulnerable girl. And she grew up in an SRO in New York City, surrounded by hopelessness and filth.
And what does this have to do with Jim Thomason?
Jim Thomason was part of that filth. He lived in the Empress Hotel. He preyed on kids.
Preyed?
He was a pornographer. He specialized in children. I mean, he lured desperate kids with money. And that's how Laura Kirk fell into his trap.
Those porn shots of Laura on the internet?
They were Jim's work.
Why are we just finding out about this now?
Because Jim blackmailed Laura.
With what? What could Laura possibly have to hide?
Laura's mother was diagnosed with TB. They didn't have money. They didn't have health insurance. Jim steps in with an offer to help. He says he's going to make Laura a model. What a beautiful girl she is. What did she know? She didn't know she was dealing with somebody who was sick. She was 15 years old. He got her to come to his studio. And he pressured her into taking off her clothes. And then he brought in a boy, and he posed them in simulated sex.
Why did Laura remain silent after the pictures were published? Why?
Because when her mother found out, she confronted Laura. Her mother was very angry. And Laura took the pictures into the basement of the hotel, and she burned them. And what she didn't know is that Jim Thomason was watching her.
All right.
He watched her burn them till they were ashes and watched her run out of the building.
Okay. Now, just to be clear, how does this directly relate to what happened tonight?
Jack, Brooke is trying to make a statement.
I understand that.
Against her counselor's advice. If you keep interrupting her...
You can't understand why I did what I did if you don't know what he did to the people in my life.
Okay, Brooke, you tell me the story any way you can.
After Laura argued with her mom, she went out and she just walked for a long time. And while she was gone, her mother found Jim and threatened to call the police. Jim killed her with a blow to the head.
Jim Thomason killed Terry Kirk.
With not a second thought, with no remorse. And then he covered his tracks. He went down in the basement where Laura had burned the photos. And he deliberately started an inferno. And then he slipped out.
And he did all this while Laura was gone?
She came back home. There wasn't a home to come to because the Empress was engulfed in flames. Her mom's body was badly burned, and of course they didn't do an autopsy. So Laura just assumed that she was responsible for her mother's death, especially after they found out that the fire had started in the basement. So Jim Thomason was very skilled. In one masterful stroke, he covered her mother's death. And he set Laura up to take the blame. And it worked. Because she took on the guilt. She wasn't angry. She was ashamed and she was afraid. And that's who Jim Thomason was. He was a cold-blooded predator who murdered the mother and framed the child.
And you know all this how?
Because he told me tonight. He was very proud of what he did.
So, your only corroborating witness is on a slab in the morgue with a toe tag and bullet holes.
Stop it, Brooke. Not another word. Who the hell is this?
This is Keith McLean. He's my new assistant district attorney. I've asked him to join us. Brooke, if you'd like to take a break.
Yes.
This would be a good time.
I think that's a very good
No,
idea.
I don't want to stop. I can't stop now. I'm going to choke if I don't get this out.
Okay, so far we've covered Thomason's porn business, the fire at the Empress Hotel, and the death of Terry Kirk.
You mean Terry Kirk's murder?
And this was what, about 4 years ago, right? Jim Thomason kept in touch with Laura even after Terry Kirk was dead?
After he murdered her. Laura got on a bus. She came to a town that she only knew from this, 20-year-old postcard that she had, this picture postcard. She actually was looking for this gingerbread band shell that had been torn down even before she was born. I guess to her the name Pine Valley sounded like a fairy tale. It sounded like a place that was clean, that was safe. And she was looking for a childhood that she'd lost. Only because of me, her past caught up to her, to us.
What do you mean, because of you? Because of the plane crash?
Flight 149 would have landed intact if it hadn't been for me. If I hadn't dragged her to New York. I took her with me to an award ceremony for Temple magazine, and Jim spotted us at the Royal Plaza Hotel, and he recognized me. And he did some checking, and then he booked a seat on Flight 149.
Why? Do you have any idea?
Yes, to take advantage of Laura's good fortune.
The blackmail.
More than that. I mean, not only did he pack a suitcase and his camera, he packed enough plastic explosives to blow up a small business.
You saying the crash was caused by a
Or
bomb?
a suite of offices or a small aircraft, whatever suited his fancy, whatever.
Hold on. You're saying that Jim Thomason blew up Flight 149?
Why would a man plant a bomb on a plane that he intended to board?
There was no
I
bomb.
mean, there was no bomb.
Why not?
Check the official report, the latest one, the one that hasn't been published. No timing device, no detonator, nothing associated with the bomb.
It's just that the explosives went off accidentally on this plane. It could have been caused by anything, a cell phone, a
It could have been
laptop.
caused by anything. The type of plastique is very unstable.
How are you involved in all this?
How am I involved in all of this? My brother, his wife, and baby were on that plane.
I'm sorry.
No. My sister-in-law, she's lying down at the bottom of the ocean.
Take it easy, okay?
I mean, we don't even have a grave that the kids can visit. How am I involved? Do you get it now?
Dimitri,
No, wait a minute. I want to ask.
idea.
Excuse me. I want to ask Sherlock one question. The plane, load full of people died, yet Jim Thomason crawled away alive. How Thomason died isn't the stumper. I want to know why he didn't die sooner. I want to know why his corpse wasn't hauled away with the plane debris. Why wasn't he stopped until now?
Man's got a good point. This guy was clearly a menace. Nobody's going to be putting up any plaques.
All right, so what do you suggest, Tad? That the office of the district attorney just fold up their tents and go home? Is that what you're saying?
There's an idea that could work. Everyone leaves except for Miss English and her lawyers.
Forget it.
They're going to have to haul us all off in handcuffs.
Tad and Dimitri have information that's crucial to this case. Jim Thomason was a brilliant sociopath. It took a lot of people to bring him
Yeah,
down.
it sounds like the whole town of Pine Valley was involved in this, Brooke, except, of course, for the proper authorities.
All right. Brooke, you were saying the plane crash.
It was how I met Jim. He was on the plane. I didn't know that his presence on the plane was part of this scheme because I was too caught up in the trauma of the crash. I didn't even notice the dread in Laura's eyes when I brought this man home, and I said what a wonderful man he was.
And Laura said absolutely nothing.
Because while I was showering Jim with gratitude and 1/3 of Temple magazine, he was coercing her into silence. He threatened to tell me and to tell the police that she killed her mother in a fire.
We'll need to speak with your daughter.
That's impossible,
And why is that impossible?
because she's out of the country.
For how long?
She's with a family. She's living with a family, the Staffords.
That's Boston. That's not out of the country.
They're doing a research project in China.
China, that's great.
Jim is the one who tampered with the furnace because Matt and Hayley were getting too close to the truth.
So was Edmund, but Thomason wasn't on to him yet. That's when I got involved. I accessed an agency file, pulled up Thomason's previous brush with explosives. SK-417, the same plastique that downed Flight 149. I then tracked down Thomason's girlfriend, and this was my mistake. I emailed the address to Edmund's office.
Judy Morton told Edmund about Jim and his kiddie porn trade. She also talked about the insurance scam with the arson and why she'd taken the rap. She was afraid of Jim. She thought if she ever talked about him that he'd have her killed. And 24 hours after she talked to Edmund, Judy Morton was murdered. We waited and waited and nothing. And finally Edmund called. And it was obvious he was trying to give us clues. He said things like, in deep cover and as cold as the grave.
I knew Thomason had him. Then I took off, hell-bent on finding Edmund, hoping he was alive.
Days went by, not a word from either of them. I mean, I had no choice. What could I do? So I called Thomason, and I invited him to the gallery, and then I covered the walls with his pornography.
You invited him?
I invited him. I told him that we were going to have a retrospective of his work, a showing of his artistic inspiration. He thought I meant his still lifes.
What did you do when he got there?
I hit him with everything. Everything I knew about Laura and the blackmail, about Judy, about Edmund and Dimitri.
And the gun?
Yes?
Where was it?
I gave the gun to Brooke.
How did it make its way to the gallery?
I took it there. It was in my purse.